Cool, guys. Welcome to another episode of Sludge Underground. I've got a special guest with me today. Brother, introduce yourself and what it is you do.
What is going on? It is Eli Zimon Ikhwanya from the band Skrikkeljaar. I sing and I play guitar and I write lyrics and I like to do graffiti.
Yeah, tell me a bit more about the band. You guys, online, you define yourself as like DIY emo pop punk. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I got three words to say. Sum 41 music video for the one for Fat Lip. No, is it for Fat Lip? Yeah, the one for Fat Lip. That is what we do.
It's the one with the like the
Where it's just a bunch of chaos.
yeah, and it's like in the skate park in the bowl and stuff.
Here's a little rundown, man. I mean, we've been going for about I think 2 years now. Going on 2 years. By the end of this year, it'll be 2 years. No, actually, it's like a year and a half. I'm not sure, but me and Christian, the guitarist, you could put a little photo of him. We've been playing together for our whole lives, since we were 14. And back then, we were like part of like the school band. I don't know if you know Maiden from Highway Apostles.
Yeah.
He actually introduced us to each other back when we were still in high school together. We just finished high school. That's fucking insane. Um, anyway, but we've been jamming together since then, and we just bonded over a communal love for Blink 182. And I think the thing that gets me about pop punk in general is it's a very goofy genre, but it's very like nuanced. It's a very goofy genre and it's very nuanced. So, like when I heard Klaskas for the first time, I was like, because the whole philosophy around what we're doing is why do I have to feel weird about being Afrikaans? You know what I mean? Why do I have to feel weird about being English in an Afrikaans environment? Because I've always been the weird English kid, or I've always been the weird Afrikaans kid. It's like I think Mengos is the coolest shit ever because that's how we speak. I don't say ja, ek het die fucking die glimplane gebruik. I say I use the highlighter. I mean, that's that language mix, and I think there's something really beautiful about shit, dude, like that feeling you get when you listen to, let's say, Zon Kultier from Uncle Spike. It's like it sounds international, but it is local and you can relate to it. At least that's my perspective as a little fucking suburban kid from Pretoria. So it's always been growing up, it's been like there's not a space for you to be weird in punk rock. And then in 2023, I went to a show at Railways for the first time. It was the Fokolori, Shameless, and Internet Girl. And that's when everything changed. That was me and the guys from Twip and Plug. We're like closest homies ever. And we went there and I was like, holy shit, I'm actually alive. Because before that, it was just hanging out at the skate park and like listening to Blink on my speaker and being like, gaan jullie naaiers het nou verstaan of nie? Like, are you gonna fuck with me or you're not? So then I was just like, you know what, dude? I remember I told my ex-girlfriend, I told her, what do you think? Do you think emo and Afrikaans would work? And she was like, no way, never. Because this was when I was listening to a lot of Midwest emo. So, and then essentially we in 2022 we wrote the song Visni Weirni, and it was just the entire purpose of the song is to be most as stereotypically emo as we can in Afrikaans and be pop punk about it. Like, I don't know, man, that riff just fucks, in my opinion, in my personal opinion. Like, it's not based on a true story. If anybody asks, it's a joke, but like there is actually some. It's actually funny because it was inspired by Christian's then girlfriend that I had a crush on.
If I'm not mistaken, you also like went around on TikTok at one point and you were making like Afrikaans covers of like Green Day, for example.
Yeah,
I think that's how I ended up aware of you in the first place, was stumbling onto that and thinking like, fuck, dude, this is actually pretty sick. Like you did a pretty good job on this and it worked pretty well.
that's what I'm saying.
I do think it has largely to do with like how you did it. Um like it was done well and clearly like with a lot of, how do I say, a lot of understanding to how the genre works just put into Afrikaans. So, like seeing what you
Exactly.
guys are doing now and kind of mixing that up, and does this have a space in this type of music? And something that um that the Dierbar guy said was that there's a lot of issues that aren't really spoken about in Afrikaans, and emo punk music inherently is about like those things, is inherently about kind of those topics that you don't really hear about in Afrikaans music. So I find it like it's really interesting to see like how you're going. Like, um, give me like an idea of what some of your songs are about that would relate to an Afrikaans person who would feel these things but wouldn't have any music within their own culture that they would listen to.
Dude, I think what you're touching on there is like super important, especially because our whole philosophy was like in the beginning we were like, okay, let's do it in Afrikaans so we can break a barrier, you know? Because there's so many kids like if I look at like the school dances and shit, those guys are like very close to moshing when they're jumping around in that pit. I'm like, you're right there. So I mean, I think in the short time we've been busy, I think there has been an like a change I've seen in my peers around me at least. Like I feel like people are more comfortable calling themselves alternative and Afrikaans. Like, but not in the same way Kuskumbais and Ralph Robbie were. It's a more direct thing of I'm expressing myself to express myself. And I think our music, like I've got a lot of angry punk shit where I'm very mad at the government and very, very, very loud. But the stuff we have out at the moment is a lot more focused on, I suppose, the consequences of capitalism on the psyche. So, I mean, like example, our song "Die Doel van die Dubbelpunt" is a song about wanting to escape anxiety and finding a place for yourself within your own body. It's a song about feeling uncomfortable to sing. It's a song about not like it's a song about expressing yourself in like your own little drawings in your diary only, because that's what the album is called. It's called Dagboek Doodle. It's called because it's about those moments where I'd sit and I'd like I can show you like um fucking where is that book? Yeah, like for example, got one of these bad boys, and then instead of talking to anybody, you just kind of sit there and you just do that, and that explains how you feel. And I think the thing about not knowing how to speak, like you can't talk to anybody because you don't make sense to yourself. I think what we're saying in our music a lot of the time is fuck that, I'm doing it anyway. Especially with the whole thing with my dad is playing in the band, like he's the age gap. Like there's a 30-year-old in our band, there's a 50-year-old in our band, there's two 17, 18-year-olds. We're saying all the conventions you think of, fuck that shit. You know it's not true in your heart. So I think a lot of people in Afrikaans households that aren't like brainwashed by their fucking conservative parents. Like they feel like what am I supposed to do? So I feel really inspired by the fact that my writing that just came from because I'm not writing being like, oh, I want to write about this. I'm just my whole philosophy with writing is I'm writing to make progress in myself. So I'll sit, I'll just feel how I feel, and then that leads to the guitar chord, and then that leads to the lyric. And if that can resonate with somebody else, and I know it will, like I have a feeling that it will make an impact and touch someone else in a positive light. I think that's how you know you're doing something really special. And I think that ties back into the whole thing of emo because there's a certain type of chord structure, timbre to the songs. Like I want you to put on our album and be like, is this modern baseball? You know what I mean? And then you hear the guy singing in Afrikaans and you're like, wait, okay, I'm not that weird. That's the whole like our lead single is called Beast Weird because it's like who's not fucking everybody's fucking weird. And I think I that feeling I get that a lot when I listen to Lisa's music and to Twip and Plug and to Dierbar, like the choice of instrumentation, the earnestness that we approach this shit with, because so much Afrikaans music is so overproduced. Even the more like rocky stuff, like it that DIY ethos of being like, I'm just here and I'm just doing this. I've always felt a really special connection to the aesthetics of the language. There's so much you can say in so little. And then when you translate it to English, it just doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean? So that whole philosophy of can my can my progression that I'm making myself touch somebody else? Like, I think that is what we're constantly striving for, to find that in other people. And I've like spoken to my other friends that make music and been like, my one of my favorite Afrikaans bands is Francis Nariman. I think they capture that feeling really well because I mean it's hyperpop IDM in Afrikaans. Like what the fuck, right? And they just capture that feeling so well. So the other day I was talking to Quibus. He said that like the opportunity to create that resonance is something we can really be proud of, and I think there's really a new scene that's awakening, and there's so many new young bands up and coming. Like fucking hell, dude, it's really cool. That's how I feel about it.
No, that's absolutely sick, and it's really like interesting to hear coming from someone like because I'm 31 at the moment, and it's really interesting to like see that you're going kind of through the same thing that I went through like at 17, 18, where it's like Sum 41, Blink 182, like those were all bands that had a massive like impact on me as a teenager. So it's so funny to see that like Fat Lip had the same effect on you that it did on me like over a decade ago, which is hilarious. Actually, it's fucking great. Uh,
Right.
but it's just really cool
Right?
that it's like it's kind of transcended that. And what do you think? Like considering that your age at the moment, like you said, you've just finished high school. What do you think has changed within Afrikaans music within the last couple of years that has kind of allowed this change to like sort of come about and this sort of new wave of Afrikaans music to come forward? Do you think it's kind of just a youth saying, fuck it, why should we conform to this? Or has it just been like, well, I want to express what I want to express and I'm going to express it in the language that I'm going to express it in my mother tongue because there are no English words for this. Not necessarily no English words, but it doesn't have the same impact as on the people that it's meant for if it's in English.
I think most of all, it's not anything to do with Afrikaans music or like the mainstream media at all. I think it's mostly to do with the dissonance between the music that the kids listen to. Like you can ask any guy with a septum piercing and a baggy pant if he knows Title Fight and he's 17 and he'll say yes, right? Like the shit that me and Niku from Twip and Plug were listening to 2 years ago, 2023, like through the internet, like this whole little culture bubble that was created online through the internet that is connected to international audiences, and like it's this feeling of I'm like these people I'm seeing on my phone, but I don't see these people around me. And then you see the person around you and you're like, wait, we have this in common. We have this connection to alternative music in common. Like whether that comes from somebody from my perspective where I've been growing up with it or somebody that's just discovered it. Like I think it's gotten to a point now where 2 years ago, I don't think that was a philosophy that was there. Like it was still very much uncovered. At least that's my experience. Because I was always like, I kind of I remembered somewhere in my the back of my head like the days of IMCO, like when I was really small, and like the how that kind of connected with the plays that the high schools would put up, you know. And there was a certain honesty about adolescence that was, and also I remembered seeing Foco Felicidade when I was like 12 and not really knowing it. Like I was like, and then there's just this moment where I think a lot of us realized, I mean, I realized that it's liberating to say, I don't need to be looked down upon, you know? And I think that's where it comes from, at least from me. Like, I don't need to be looked down upon because I'm different, or I like this kind of music, or I act this kind of way, or I don't want to be oppressed. I don't want to, I want to paint my nails and I want to fucking not do homework. Like, having a philosophy of if I can see that connection between the things I've experienced in my youth that were counterculture and rebellious in the language, like, and then having that connection of where in an online space, we still have that philosophy, like, and especially in terms of like the aesthetics, like the whole rise of the idea of aestheticism, like, oh, this Midwest emo aesthetic or whatever. Like, and in the initial phases, it was just an experiment of how well can I express myself using the both things I have. And also for me, it's really enjoyable to be new and creative about it, because a new idea is just two ideas put together. So I think what's changed is a disconnect from the mainstream that's allowed people to come up with ideas in a new light. Like, I remember when I wrote the riff for Visni Weirdname, I was like, fuck, okay, wait, no, I wrote this, nobody else came up with this. And then I listened to a Glasgow song that had the same chord progression, and I was like, this fucker had the same idea in the year I was born. You know what I mean? Like, that realization that this has been done before and we can continue to do it. And especially what I find appealing about it as well is, like, if you look at Droomland or Melkfest, sure, it's like there's bigger bands that are not as heavy or as raucous, but the awareness of the philosophy is starting to trickle back in. Like, I like Spookvol, I like their music. Same thing with Vocal Police or The Evils Fantastisch. Like, that's classic music, their older stuff and their newer stuff as well. I mean, the average Afrikaans teenager, I personally, when I was younger, I would stereotype them as like kind of annoying and stupid, like, oh, I don't talk to you, like don't talk to me, you jock, like you're being so nasty to me, like whatever. But in reality, everybody's actually on the same page. So if we can just push the punk shit about, like, yes, I'm gonna have fun and dance at the show, I'm not just gonna drink, like, that philosophy is starting to go back in. If I look at a band like Beerkom, for example, I think they're starting to trickle really up and up into the consciousness because of, like, and us, the shows we've done with Zanzonicus and example like that, like, it's crossing a bridge between a core punk audience and a more not used to the punk culture thing. So I think what's really great about all of this is the fact that through social media we can create a new culture.
It's a really like interesting perspective to have, and it's like it's obviously something you've given a lot of thought to. It's something that has, you've spent a lot of time, you know, not just like thinking about, but obviously talking about these ideas to other people as well. And I find it like really interesting in terms of, because it comes back to something that Janke from Dierbart also said, that people are tired of listening to the same thing, the same themes, the same concepts, the same um, things in music again and again. And that is also kind of why we're seeing this branch out where there's so many new artists that are doing a completely different style of music. And the way that you've spoken about how that kind of like that culture of, the punk, the DIY, the counterculture of just like, I don't have, like you were saying, I don't have to be looked down on. I can just kind of do whatever the fuck I want.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a big part of it. That's kind of like being alternative for me is I've never really fit into an aesthetic specifically. I mean, I'm fucking. I go to metal shows in white shoes and a pink shirt. That's just kind of. But could you call me not alternative? I'm sitting here with a
No.
7-string guitar behind me. I've played countless shows. I've interviewed countless bands. I've been to countless shows. So I kind of just I'm gonna do what I fucking want. It is what it is to me, and I'm seeing more and more of that. Of like, you don't have to look a certain way. As much as people are like, oh, you got to take that aesthetic. I honestly, an aesthetic is such a small part of it. You how you look, how you dress. Sure, it's an easy way for people to identify you, but it's not necessarily the most important thing in the world.
No.
A lot of it for me is just personally about how it makes me feel and how I treat others.
Yeah, man. I really resonate with what you're saying. It's about how it makes me feel. So I think the really fun part about all of this so far has been I can share how I feel and I can realize, oh wait, but you feel the same way I feel. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a friend, Leo. I connected with him lately. Like, I've been like, Wait, okay, but like shit, dude, we feel the same. We're both in this position where we can do new things, and for me that's been really liberating because I've lived a lot of my life in my head. So to take a step outside and like as much as aesthetics aren't that important to the core philosophy of what it is, I think it's really fun to express yourself in new ways and create new images that are like, huh. Like if you see Hendrik Blake, for example, he does a show where he's got he's playing the bass, he's singing his songs, it's fucking dope, and then he's got a dude next to him in a bootable pucky dancing. Like I love that. And then you think about a band like LOC and just the way they capture that feeling as well. I think it's really exciting for me as somebody who was born and raised in Pretoria that's kind of part of the Joburg scene as well. Like the English bands like obviously the Folklore, but like Necklace and Decay, right? Those guys and the feeling they capture, I don't see much different from what they're doing to what we're doing. And bridging that gap, like when we were playing the Music for Palestine gig, we were the only Afrikaans band there, and I felt a bit weird about it. I felt like this language is like kind of weird and like looked down upon. But then I think about a band like Ultramal, and I'm like, well, fuck, look what they're doing with it in a completely different context as to what we're doing. Because it's like Yanka said as well, it's just a language.
Yeah,
So what's been fun for me lately is having an avenue to write the songs I've always wanted to write in both English and Afrikaans. Again, that's a thing like with Uncle Spike and Beerkom as well that they do. That's a certain that creates an opportunity to make somebody that might not be aware of a certain style or aesthetic aware of it. Be like, you listen to Beerkom because you're from like I see the American streams on our district and I'm like, I wonder what you think about this. Is it the same way I like that Indonesian pop punk band? Probably. I think a problem that a lot of South Africans have, or what I kind of felt before I started getting involved more with the scene, is we kind of are very, we look down upon ourselves. Is that, I don't know, like, there's not a whole philosophy of like, oh, look at me, I'm the best. It's very like, oh, I don't know. Like,
I don't know. Hey, I think South Africans are really weird when it comes to that because, like, fuck with the South African online, and the entirety of South Africa will be there. Like, hey, listen here, fuck you. But I think our humor is so based in like self-deprecation and not taking ourselves seriously, which is a double-edged sword, to be honest, in a lot of ways. Because like we're either too serious or not serious enough about the most ridiculous shit.
that is so real.
I think that's kind of where the catch 22 is. I don't think South Africans, because like if you look at how South Africans look at sport, okay, how they support, for instance, any start like South Africans have been dominating like in the world stage for the last like 2-3 years, whether it be with rugby, with a couple of other things that were just South Africans who were doing really well in a variety of different spaces, and there's always like that intense pride about that. So I don't think that like we look down on ourselves, but I think we look very much down on people who we could perceive as bringing the country down. Um,
Yeah.
and but then that's also like kind of weird in terms of you're never really sure as to what that's going to be exactly. It's kind of very hard to nail down specifically what that might be. I don't know if I'm making sense because I like
No, you're making sense.
South Africans online are uh, a very weird beast, and I think the rest of the world's a little bit wary of us these days because like
We're very in focused. It's like everything, because I love this place. It's fucking great to be here. So we're not really concerned with what else is going on, you know. So and that kind of stops an international mindset. If you think about a band like Internet Girl that's gone international now, or like Folklore that's playing international, I think a lot of South African bands need to start giving themselves more credit, being like, you know what, fuck you, dude. I can do this. I can have 20,000 followers. I can play in Europe, right? Even if I'm playing in Afrikaans band, like
like so this is the thing is I piss a lot of people off with this. I'll not necessarily piss people off, but a lot of people don't necessarily understand what I'm talking about when I say this. Is that there is a massive disconnect between South African artists, especially alternative and metal artists, and their potential audience. Okay. Whereas the biggest demographic of people who are fans of alternative and heavier music do not know that South Africa has an alternative and heavier scene. Okay, and a big part of this is because artists are piss poor at marketing themselves, and that's the part that
They
pisses
really
people
are.
off. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I've had a guest submission for this platform, and I've gone to their pages and been like, "What the fuck am I supposed to know about you? Like, how am I supposed to like there's nothing." And like sure, I understand that social media presence is in everything, but I don't see you at shows. I don't see you anywhere. There's no one talking about you. And as horrible as that sounds, there is a difference between I just want to make music and I want to be known. Sure, anyone can just make music. You and I can both sit down, we can write music. Sick. That's cool. And if that's all you want to do, fine. But if you want to be known, you have to put in the fucking effort. If you want to pursue it as a career, you have to unfortunately, this is where socials, interactions, all these things play a key role into it, and you need to put some kind of effort into it. Like like I said, I found you completely organically through social media, just based on the things you were doing. Okay, was it high effort content? Not necessarily. No. Was it interesting? Was it cool? Like yes, it definitely put you on a radar for a lot of people. From there started seeing you around more in shows, more online, and yeah, you've definitely started connecting with people. And people don't know how to connect with an audience because if you can't get your own audience to care about you, how is anyone supposed to care about you? And it's such a fucking harsh reality, but it's something that basically needs to be said.
I totally agree with you, and that completely latches onto what I'm saying because, dude, that's the thing I get really annoyed with as well. Like, how are you gonna be? You know why I like Green Day and why I like Blink and why I like Sum 41? Yes, it's because of the music, but it's also because of the feeling that I get from thinking about the image. So that's kind of what we're all about right now is like, and that comes back to fuck you, I'm going to do what I want because what I want to do is to express myself and do and be this. If My dad always says people don't come to a show because they want to listen to music, they come to a show to believe in something, right? Because what else is like the feeling I got when I saw the Folklore for the first time? I was like, holy shit, it's the guys that wrote the song.
Just to interject
So
there, La Folklore is one of the most fucking entertaining shows you will ever watch, irrespective
exactly.
of whether or not you like their music or you think they're good or not. Like that band has like you if you're going to a show, you are getting a fucking show. That is what you are getting when you go there.
Exactly.
And that's the
That
point.
that's my whole philosophy with the performance side of it as well. Because honestly, a lot of it is spiteful. A lot of our music is spiteful and angry towards the very ostracizing Afrikaans community. Like I don't want to point fingers or name names, but there's a certain competition that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And when I was recording the verse, the rap section for Katakwat, I was like, there's a lyric in it that says, "Ek sal nooit wees wat jy wil hê nie. Ek sal nooit wees wat jy wil hê nie." And I don't know if do you know what that means?
I'll never be what you want. I'll never. It's along those lines. Of,
Yes. But it's like the focus is on I'll never be what you want and you and you and you, all of you people. And my thing is if you can create an environment where somebody can go, what the fuck just happened in your show and you can capture that feeling online, then it's just a spiral that keeps going and going and going. That's why I put a lot of emphasis in making sure we jump really fucking high. Like if you watch a band play a really tight set and they're like halfway up in the air half of the time, then you're like, hell yeah.
What kind of witchcraft is this? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Um like but back to the marketing thing, I think a lot of people do need to realize that your philosophy, you don't need to create something that will appeal. What energy you have will it will resonate if you express it authentically. And with authentically, I think I really mean the idea you have in your head about how it should be. That's already how it is. That's not something external from you. That's inside of you already. You just need to put in the work to express it.
yeah. And where do you see like this heading? So this kind of goes back to like Afrikaans, like specific. Where do you see like Afrikaans music heading in the next couple of years? So, like, do you see it evolving further from this point as you yourself have said more and more of your peers have gotten into not just listening to this type of music, but also making it? So, like, what are your thoughts about what direction it's going in?
Well, I think the direction is multi genre. I mean, the term alternative Afrikaans at the moment kind of just refers to anything that's not soki 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 by spijker in my bakkie, right? It refers to, but like there's are multiple genres happening in Afrikaans right now. Like we're playing speedy, stupid, snotty pop punk, but Lisa's playing a more sophisticated alternative rock, and Dwip and Plug has got their Midwest emo riffs, and Folk has got this sexy Paul Simon esque porn shit going on. Like the umbrella term for alternative Afrikaans is a thing I think is a double edged sword because it creates a kind of community under the things we share about the quirks of the language and the quirks of the culture, but it also can be detrimental to kind of, I think genre isn't that important, but I think knowing and feeling what you're listening to for what it is and not misconstruing it for something else is like it can be something that can diminish from the art.
So, what you're saying essentially is that it'll break out of that bubble of just being Afrikaans music, that it'll filter in to being within all of the respective genres that, but it just happens to be in Afrikaans.
Yes, and I think my mission is to pretty much create an awareness that you can write in Afrikaans and it's not lame. You know, because so many people, it's always, no, I don't listen to Afrikaans music, it's not good. Okay, okay, buddy. Right, like let me know how you feel after you've listened to um Swan Song by Folk of Felicia. Tell me you like post hardcore and you don't like that album, there's something wrong with you. Like I think that what's the future is positive and it's community based.
Yeah.
I think that this Afrikaans wave goes hand in hand with the DIY wave. If I think about a band like Schmat or Carte Blanche, what they're doing and how we're taking that Scully Johannesburg attitude and just bringing it to the kids. Like we were playing a show with them at a DIY brew. We were playing a show at a brewery for fuck's sakes. It was an all ages show, and I was looking at that and I was like, this is amazing. And the cool thing about Schmat is their tunes are really good. Like you've got good fucking music. And John, the guitarist from Schmat, he actually taught me how to skateboard. And like, well, like I learned shit from him. And a lot of my inspiration for the feelings and aesthetics and the art I'm creating were inspired by him. And now I'm seeing like shit. And we didn't see each other for a while. Like I didn't know where he was. And then we just reconnected through the scene. And I was like, so that's the power of this music. What the fuck? You know, I think the future of it is completely this little momentum we're creating right now is going to spiral and spiral and spiral until it's completely out of our control. Like when I say our, I'm talking about everybody involved with Africult because that I think is the core of the scene at the moment.
Like, are you also part of the Offer Cult lineup of like bands at the moment?
Yeah, we're part of the collective.
Fuck yeah! I think the Debo guy said it was about 10 bands. Yeah.
Yeah, we're working with them, but we're not signed with them.
Oh, okay, sick.
but I mean, it's something we might consider in the future. But I mean, I just think they are an indie label, and the way they're doing it really resonates with how we're doing it. And I think a turning point in this whole thing, what was kind of like a communal meeting, was Cultfeest this year in Feb. It was just like a bunch of alternative Afrikaans bands coming together and being like, "Fuck yeah!" And we did it at Tweefontein, and I was like, "This is sick." Right? I think the center of that philosophy that we all share is it is inherently super freaking anarchist. It's community driven, focused on, because my goals for the future is I want to open a venue. I want to open a venue that's not a bar. Dude,
Sorry, I didn't
that
mean
is
to
like,
interrupt. It's like it's also like my
no,
lifelong dream is open a
fuck
fucking
yeah,
venue.
dude,
But
that is
yes.
so cool. Hell yeah. Can I tell you about my venue?
Go for it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just like, haha,
No,
fucking
bro, don't
kindred
worry about
moment.
it at
Like,
all. Please no stress. That is so cool, man. Um, I want a skate park with a swimming pool where there's a stage. That's what I'm gonna make. Because that's all we want to do. That's all I want to do is I want to skateboard, I want to swim, and I want to go to shows. So I want to make a space where you can just pull up and do it for free. And if you want to buy drinks, you can, but the kids can be there too. Like I want to do that. That is what I'm gonna do. And I think the future of Afrikaans music goes hand in hand with that. And I think that's something I'm really happy about. The mainstream is becoming more punk, and the punk is being punk. Like Drum Syndrome, their new song, like people can say what they want about Zansonicus and Drum Syndrome. I was at a Toneelfeest thing and I heard that song. I was like, what is this? This is pretty sick. Like, shout the fuck out to them because they're carrying, like, even though it's not as heavy or it might be like turned down, it's still the expression of it. And I think that there's a space now that will continue to grow. There's an awareness of something happening. And I can't say for sure what's going to happen, but like me and Rian from Highway Apostles were having a conversation. No, he wasn't. He was talking to my dad. My dad told him what he told me. South African punk is going to change the world. Period. That's my philosophy about it. In the next 3, 4 years, you will be on the main stage globally because the music here is too good to go unnoticed. And that's just as say like I can say the same thing for um Afrikaans music. And then I think like the awesome opportunities that the like the legacy bands have given us, like given like I've always wanted to play a show with Focal Police Guard, like, and I think it's gonna happen eventually because Francois Kirk liked my comment, liked my video. So maybe come on, hit me up, Francois. But I just think it's great that there is a cross. It's just everybody's going together and we're aware of the joy of what we're gonna do.
I don't even know if Francois watches this channel. That would actually be. I'd love to know that too. That would be sick.
Maybe, maybe he does.
I've been shocked before. Like,
But I mean, like they did a show with Dierbar, and like we're playing a festival in Plet with Spookfulf and Jack Barrow. That's our first real like big huge festival, and I'm like, holy shit, this is happening, man! Like, it's really surreal for me because I'm just a kid.
I don't think that feeling of like it's surreal goes away, irrespective of like how old and how long you've been doing it.
No,
I still have moments even now where I'm like, this is happening. Holy fuck, you know who I am? That's okay. Like, like, but on that note, my dude, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me today. It's been an absolute blast getting to know you and more about your music, how you're doing it, and just your general outlook on everything has been extremely interesting. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me today.
hell yeah, man! Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk to you, and it's great to meet you, dude. I hope we can form a great bond in the future.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
Rock and roll, bro.